Brexit is about is nothing more than Britain being able to control its own affairs. Osborne and Cameron, now this is the Prime Minister and the Chancellor of the Exchequer, it's not Joe Bloggs, actually told the country that if they voted Brexit, not if they had Brexit, they just voted Brexit, we were going to have an emergency budget, unemployment was going to go through the roof, the economy was going to crash. If they dared to vote for Brexit, well, none of these things actually happened. We must make the most of Brexit. And as I say, that means becoming competitive. That means really taking control of our borders. That means taking total control of our own laws and not being subject to any other court. Don't give up. Don't just shrug and say, well, it's all over, you know, and we'll rejoin one day. Don't give up. Insist on having the thing that you voted for. None of them seem to think that we should obey their laws just because we got a trade deal with them. And yet the EU believes it's central to any relationship with us that we have to obey their laws. And indeed, they've done that with Norway. They've done that with Switzerland. They want their law to be supreme. The reason I became so anti-EU was my direct experience of 7 years as a minister in the John Major government, when I just saw at first hand as a minister how utterly unable we were to take charge of our own destiny. If we wanted a law that was incompatible with Europe, we couldn't have it. If we didn't want a law that they wanted us to have, we had to have it. We were simply not an independent sovereign state. The ECJ still has a role in our affairs through Northern Ireland, which we've comprehensively abandoned. We're still governed by far too much EU law. Now, we could take advantage of Brexit. We could make ourselves very attractive to investment. That was always the fear that the EU had. They thought we would become Singapore-on-Thames. And we've said, no, we'll crawl along with you. Well, to my mind, that is a betrayal of what the British people wanted. What I think will happen is what is happening, which is we don't have to rejoin to keep ourselves aligned to Europe, to keep ourselves within their rules, to keep ourselves non-competitive with them. We don't have to rejoin to do all that. That is already happening. And that is what I see as the Remainers' route to an eventual rejoining a long way down the line. We're not where we ought to be, but the brutal fact is that Brexit has been betrayed. And then we were surprised when one big company went off to Ireland, where they have, competitive rates. We're not going to rejoin formally. We'd have to take the euro if we were going to do that, for example. We won't do that, but there are two ways, as I've always said, of going back into the EU. One is to rejoin formally and legally, and we won't do that. Accept all their laws as if we had actually rejoined. He sees a cooperation with France as the key. Well, it might have been if we could trust the French, but we've given them millions and millions of pounds, and they have done nothing except stand on the shore and watch the boats leave. If you don't fear your enemy, you don't mention him. That reform came under attack at the Labour Party conference for people who are active in reform, but it certainly hasn't helped calm anything down. I have no idea. What I can say with absolute certainty and with my hand on the good book, I can really say that I am not standing for Parliament. There is no question of standing for Parliament. In a few days' time, I'm going to be 78. By the time the general election comes, I'd be 81. By the time that Parliament ended, I would be 85. And while I have no doubt at all that I can still do things like legislation and analysis and all that type of thing, what I could not do is the very demanding 7-day-a-week constituency work. I remember it. If you're going to be a good MP, then even if you're a very, very senior minister, you've still got to be utterly prepared to spend a lot of time in and with your constituency. It means that a country is in control of its own affairs and takes its own decisions, and
doesn't accept orders from anybody else. And that, of course, is exactly the opposite to what Britain was during its membership of the European Union. Now, to me, the definition of sovereignty is that you can determine your own laws, that you can repeal and make law as that country sees fit, not as anybody else sees fit, that you can make your own trade deals on whatever terms you, the country, sees fit and not what any other country might dictate, and that you crucially can control your own borders, and you can say who comes to your country, on what terms they come to your country, how long they can stay in your country. All those things are indicative of sovereignty. We were not sovereign in the EU years. We are not, thanks to Keir Starmer and also to the awful deal that Boris negotiated. We are still not entirely sovereign, but we're a lot further towards it than we were once. We've got the World Economic Forum, which pronounces, and there is, I think, a terrible tendency towards globalism. The United Nations, I think, is another offender, which has departed from its original mandate and now tries to impose law on individual countries. So, yes, I'm very, very worried about what I call the global dictatorship.
No.